It doesn't help employees. It doesn't help employers. Um, in fact, the only people that seem to be helped by education are the providers of it, insofar as they're paid for their efforts, however misguided. So, what I'm doing now is I have defined my price. My price is determined by my value. Um, that value is that in less than 15 minutes, I can just rip apart anything you're doing at the best you can do, maybe an hour, and do it better because it's just such a practiced routine now that you look at something and you go,
So, so is
oh,
Potency World, what are you doing for the education sector then? Are you troubleshooting
no, 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 I'm not touching it. Not
right?
interested at all
So,
with
so
any of it.
what's the work you're doing with
So,
Potency World?
so Potency.World is a education revolution for girls between 11 and 18. We're obviously here on a men and boys show, but basically girls suffer their biggest drop in confidence as they move from primary to secondary school. So I'm thinking, oh, blimey, that's a real shame. And then you start thinking about how the world is for a young girl, and they suddenly become aware that they're very sexualized, that they're judged very much on their appearances and their popularity, and they're conditioned to be people pleasers. So that unfortunately limits our world, our species, because it basically women hold back, stifle, then repress themselves. And the education system, which is, oh, I'm at this mark, I'm on this grade or this grade or that grade, it just creates anxiety and no useful skill whatsoever. So I am the living demonstration of what's called neuroplasticity. I had a complete wipeout, left hemisphere, right side, Pons stroke, if people want to look it up, PONS, capitalized. So I am the outcome of what you can do with the brain if you apply yourself. And I'm going to apply that to these girls, and that will make their brains operate in a different way from anybody in education. And when I say different, I mean vastly superior.
I mean, I think the education system definitely needs some major attention in how we deliver it. I suppose my concern, I mean, I think anything for girls and women, of course, is absolutely crucial. And I think absolutely, I can see that there would be confidence issues. I wonder how much of the confidence issues one might blame on social media, more so even than the education system today, or whether they're just a fairly toxic mix as it is for
I
girls
think it's a
today.
fairly toxic mix. I mean, part of
Yeah.
what we're doing in these academies is that we're controlling the broadcast and social media. So we'll have our own broadcast media and
Yeah.
social media companies. And the idea is to change the narrative because the
Yeah.
narrative inside people's heads is what they
Yeah.
experience in the world.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's what needs to change.
I definitely think what we do know, there's some things they must be doing right because girls outperform boys in every subject at school, from primary through to secondary, barring maths. And in fact, number of graduates now, 57% graduates are female, only 43% are male. So I do feel that if anybody is struggling at school, it's the boys. The education system fails the boys. But I
Mhm.
think as it stands, yes, we need to put measures in place for our girls and for our boys as well. Look at, well, why is the education system? How would it be failing our girls? How can it be made better for girls? How can it be made better for boys? Bearing in mind that biologically we're different, so we have different needs. How would you run a school, a mixed school that reaches out and supports the best outcomes for girls and for boys? That's a big ask. It's a big ask, but
It
something
depends on
we
what
should
you
be
mean by the
working
best
towards.
outcomes.
Best outcomes in terms of confidence, in terms of cohesion between the genders,
Okay.
um, in terms of those kids, boys and girls, coming out of school feeling happy about themselves,
Mm.
positive about their future. not feeling like they've been lost, forgotten, that they hated school. The girls and boys look back at school and think, I had a good time. It was fun. I had some fun.
Yeah, yeah, that would be really nice if they could do that. But given that, um, oh, there's so much to unpack. So, oh man, there's so much to unpack. Okay, so from the age of 4/5, children are conditioned to, like Pavlov's dogs, arrive at their workplace half an hour early, accept complete authority and control without question, to be determined whether or not they can go to the toilet, to be shouted at, screamed at loudly by adults overbearing, to get an hour for lunch and then go back to the grind, to expect additional work unpaid in your own time. That, my friend, is a completely broken system for boys and girls. This is my attempt to produce 500,000 differently wired brains that, as this civilization, as we can all see it slipping off a cliff, it might not be the end of the human species, but I think we're at the precipice of society, civilization in this current form. So my concern is creating the humans for the next civilization. And I was being interviewed by a friend of mine about this, and she asked me why only girls. I said it's a 10-year project to prove the point about education, but obviously when I'd roll it out for boys and girls. So once my idea is proved, it will create change at several different levels in society, and then people will either choose it or not.
So, from your experiences as a guy, and we're seeing some encouraging signs for me. For me, men and boys have been largely forgotten from a lot of the well-being, diversity, inclusion, equality space. I'm really excited. Melinda French Gates, a known philanthropist, her latest round of funding that she's announced, at last, she's announced some initiatives, funding initiatives for programs for men and boys, very much in the minority. But it represents a step change. Even the Labour Party are talking about a men's health strategy, which is quite surprising. Usually, the voices speaking up for men and boys come from the right of the political spectrum. It's great to see it's coming from the left. People are catching up. We need to do stuff for men and boys. What can we do for men and boys? How do we help men and boys to be the best version of themselves? Just thinking about yourself as a man and within society, what practically can we do to create a better world for men and boys?
So